Today we're going to tackle an important question that many of us have probably wondered about at some point. What's the difference between generic and brand name drugs? Are generics really as good as the big brand names we see advertised everywhere? We'll dive into the facts to clear up any confusion and help you make informed choices about your medications. What are generic drugs? First off, let's make sure we're all on the same page about what we mean by generic drugs. It all starts with a pharmaceutical company pouring years and millions of dollars in developing a new medication. When they've finally got a drug that works and is safe, they patent it. This patent gives them exclusive rights to make and sell the drug for a set period, typically around 20 years. During this time, the drug is marketed under a brand name, the catchy names you see in pharmaceutical ads, but eventually, that patent expires. And when it does, other manufacturers are allowed to step in and make their own versions of the exact same drug. These versions are sold under the drug's chemical name rather than the brand name, and is what we call a generic. So essentially, generics have the identical active ingredients to the original brand name drug. They're not an approximation or a knockoff, they're the same medicine, just without the brand name attached. This system is actually a pretty clever balance. This initial patent period gives the original developer a chance to recoup their investment and turn a profit, which incentivizes the costly process of drug development. But the ability for generics to enter the market after that period ensures that the drug becomes more accessible and affordable over time. It's a win-win. Innovation is rewarded, but monopolies don't last forever. Are generics as safe and effective? So, now we know that generic drugs have the same active components as their brand name counterparts. But does that necessarily mean they work just as well and are just as safe? That's a valid concern. After all, we're talking about our health here. No one wants to take a chance on medication that might not do its job or, worse, might cause harm. But here's the good news. Yes, generics are indeed just as safe and effective as brand name drugs. And that's not just an opinion. It's backed up by a wealth of scientific evidence and the standards of our country's drug regulation authority, the FDA. You see, the FDA has stringent requirements that generics must meet to be approved and sold. A key part is something called bioequivalence. In order for a generic to be considered bioequivalent to a brand name drug, it must match it in several key ways. It must have the same active ingredient, in the same strength, in the same dosage form, like a tablet or a liquid, and it must be taken the same way, such as orally or topically. Moreover, it must demonstrate that it absorbs into the body at effectively the same rate and to the same extent as the brand name drug. This bioequivalence standard ensures that a generic will work in your body just like the brand name drug does. Several large-scale studies have put this to the test and confirmed that generics perform equally to their brand name versions. One major review looked at cardiovascular drugs, which are some of the most widely prescribed, and found no evidence that brand names outperformed generics. Another study focused on anti-epileptic drugs and reached the same conclusion. So the scientific conclusion is clear. When you use a generic medication, you can trust that you're getting the same quality of treatment as you would with a brand name. The generic is not inferior or second rate in any way. It's simply a more affordable version of the same effective medicine. But wait, you might be wondering, if generics are the same drug, why are they so much cheaper? Good question. Why are generics cheaper? Well, it all comes down to cost. And that goes into bringing a drug to the market and the difference between business models of brand names and generic manufacturers. Consider what's involved in creating a brand new drug from scratch. There's extensive research to identify potential drug candidates, followed by years of development to refine the drug and test it for safety and effectiveness. This involves multiple stages of clinical trials with human volunteers, which are incredibly expensive to conduct. Then there are the costs of setting up manufacturing facilities and processes that meet strict quality control standards. And let's not forget the marketing. All of those ads and promotions to establish the brand name in doctors' and consumers' minds. All told, It can cost hundreds of millions, even billions, to bring a new drug to the market. Generic manufacturers, on the other hand, don't have most of these costs. They don't need to spend the initial research and development because they're working on a drug that's already been created and proven. They can use the existing clinical trial data to get approval. They just need to demonstrate bioequivalence. And they spend far less in marketing, often relying on the reputation of the drug itself rather than brand promotion. So the generic business model is very different. Rather than recouping a huge investment over a period of market exclusivity, they can focus on an efficient production and competitive pricing. And those savings are getting passed on to customers. Now, some people worry that the lower price means lower quality, but remember, generics have to meet the same quality standard as brand name drugs. The FDA inspects manufacturing facilities and monitors quality for both types of drugs. Lower cost doesn't mean cutting corners. It's simply the result of a different business approach. The availability of these affordable generics has made an enormous difference in people's ability to access needed medications. Many people who might struggle to afford brand name drugs can get the same treatment with generics. It's a huge win for public health and individual well-being. But are there any situations where a generic might not be the best choice? When are generics not appropriate? One such case is with drugs that have what's called a narrow therapeutic index. This means there's a relatively small difference between the dose that is effective and the dose that could be harmful. Even slight changes in the amount of drug in your bloodstream could have significant consequences. Examples of drugs with narrow therapeutic indexes include some blood thinners, like warfarin, some thyroid medications, and some drugs used to control seizures like phenytoin. With these types of drugs, doctors often prefer to stick with a single manufacturer, whether it's a brand name or a specific generic, to minimize any potential variations. It's not that the generic is inferior, but even the slightest difference in how it's absorbed or metabolized could make a difference. Another situation where a brand name might be preferred is when the way the drug is delivered is crucial. This is often in the case with inhaled medications for asthma or COPD, or with insulin injectors for diabetes. In these cases, the specific device used, like the inhaler or the insulin pen, can affect how much of the drug gets into your system. The inactive ingredients in the medication can also play a role in how it's absorbed, so your doctor may want to use a specific brand to ensure you're getting the delivery system that works best for you. There are also some instances where a person might have an allergy or sensitivity to one of the inactive ingredients in a specific generic version of a drug. In these cases, they might need to use a different generic or the brand name that doesn't contain that ingredient. It's important to note that these situations are relatively uncommon. For the vast majority of drugs and the vast majority of people, generics are a perfectly safe and effective choice. And even in cases where a brand name is incidentally prescribed, there's often an opportunity to switch to a generic later once the treatment is stable. The key is to have an open conversation with your doctor and pharmacist. They can help you navigate when a generic is appropriate and when it might be better to stick with a brand. They can also keep an eye out for new generics that come to the market that might offer more affordable options. So while there are a few caveats, the broad message stands. Generics are a safe, effective, and financially smart choice for most people and most medications. And with that, let's wrap up what we've learned. Now it's up to you to put this knowledge into action. Next time you're prescribed a medication, don't be afraid to ask your doctor or pharmacist about generic options. You could save a bundle of money without sacrificing your health. If you found this information helpful, be sure to hit that like button and share this video with your friends and family. No one should overpay for the medications they need. And if you want to stay up to date on more health tips and insight, click the subscribe button and hit the bell icon to get notified about all our new videos. Thanks for watching, and remember, when it comes to your health, knowledge is power. Stay informed, stay healthy, and until next time, take care.